Numbani first point. The biggest thing to look out for is whether or not the Soldier and Ana are going to jump down onto the road or if they're going to dip into the hallways. And we'll see how Rogue's going to respond.
Yeah, we're going to be looking out at that for now. Already Krytox, a couple of warning shots fired in the direction of winz, but he's able to shake that off for the most part now that the Winston's already got in. Nox trying to get his hands a little bit dirty, and soon is up on that high ground. AKM, the first kill. Krytox is felled.
Interesting, interesting. Still getting in the damage, still getting in the kills. Nox going to be claiming a second one for his team. Davin going to be doing his hardest to just try and contest it to a certain degree, but uNKOE is going to be putting a quick end to that with one quick orb to the cranium.
It's pretty cut and dry, Bishop. As we said there. I mean, obviously started Rogue, obviously make the dive up towards the top right-hand side there. Does that feel pretty standard for you in terms of how this comp should execute from Rogue? Just very much get in their face and get rid of the 76 first and go from there?
Yeah, I mean, Rogue has pretty much solidified this comp and made it very popular, in my opinion, and they executed that textbook perfect. Very surgical on the removal there. No overextensions, elimination of priority targets. Very solid.
Coming into the second stage. Davin off screen has found Soon elsewhere, so that's a little bit frustrating, but Soon was ranging far and wide to try and find some of those kills, Brent.
That's classic Soon right there, isn't it? He's just searching into the backlines for an opportunity. Didn't have a pulse bomb to work with, but one clip into the backlines might be enough to bring down a player, but here comes NiCO, going to be popping off that Dragon Blade, looking for an opportunity. Nox is there to help him out as well, putting in the damage currently into iuKeEe, but not finding too many kills here, Uber.
Yeah, I mean, AKM now coming in after the fact with attack visor, that's really quite nasty as well. Especially, I think Lukey's bubble was mostly used up. That soon, he gets back to the fight and he makes a bit of a splash. The force bomb claims Lukey, and destro is not far behind. And for those watching at home, there's a good chance that the perceived skill gulf between these two teams will start to exacerbate, it'll start to show itself. You know, we really need to see Cyclowns actually start putting some pressure on Rogue, but they're so well drilled in this composition. They played it, they even played it to their own, I guess, detriment, you know, in Korea, where they sort of chose not to adapt or change. But here it might work out. Okay, Lukey wants to try and work up the back, but they already got the checkpoint here, so all these ultimates must be committed.
That is not a great show. I mean, it was a cutesy play by Davin in the end to move him with the pulse bomb. They obviously chose to commit to it, a nano boost onto iuKeEe, leading it in. Quite a scary thing, a giant nano boosted monkey charging at you, but at the end of the day, Rogue are going to be able to get the checkpoint, so they will be pushing this through into the final stage of Numbani, and they've got a hell of a lot of ults to work with as well.
And Rogue just haven't been stopped. 5 minutes and 22 on the clock here as well. They are inexorable moving forward. Soon actually pulls the plug on that one, though. He had the pulse bomb ready, but I think he was concerned that destro was a little bit too high up for him to actually connect with. However, Transcendence coming out for uNKOE. Rogue have so many ults to work with, but Davin and destro now, the dynamic duo for Cyclowns, no doubt about it, come back in. They get 4 kills between them. Finally start to wake up a little bit more. Mind you, in an ultimate, the Rogue actually came into with a significant old advantage. I mean, yeah.
What's the... Bishop, this is a question for you. What's the sort of play now that Cyclowns need to be playing around when you're up against a team like Rogue?
How are you playing around this?
Yeah.
Well, with the composition that they're running, it's definitely going to be a high-risk, high-return type of play, but when you're running this type of triple DPS comp on last point, you really need to focus on positioning and spreading out before Rogue can kind of collapse onto the core. Cyclowns, Rogue really didn't give them the chance, but here's Cyclowns' chance to kind of spread out and get the jump on them before anything happens.
You see NiCO obviously just poking at long range. Davin picks off uNKOE here as well. So Cyclowns, I guess, can almost, prolong this push as well by just, trimming away at the edges of Rogue before they can get this fight started. The problem is that it's traded back. Soon found Pox there as well. And Rogue don't really seem to be wanting to go anywhere at all. The confidence is there. The pulse bomb also is. And NiCO, after the dash comes through, the Dragon Blade to follow. Crusade is down. It's going to be AKM connecting pretty comfortably on towards Davin, and now they might just shut the door in the face of the Cyclowns.
Absolutely. Look at this forward aggression coming out by Rogue. The cart is moving in. It's one last attempt by Cyclowns, but it just cannot get onto the point in time. Rogue are going to take the first round of Numbani, at least in an incredibly rapid fashion.
So let me maybe frame this question from a different direction. I mean, this is the same Rogue we saw in Korea in terms of their composition.
Correct.
What was it about their comp that we saw teams like Kong2 Panthera and maybe even more importantly, luNKOE actually play around or use to their advantage? Like, what did they recognize about Rogue's comp that maybe Cyclowns aren't?
The biggest difference, and to explain this shortly, would be to say that a lot of Korean teams focus on tank-driven plays. They focus on their tanks making room for the DPS players to work with, and from that, we saw Kong2 Panthera and a lot of other Korean teams kind of adapt a control-oriented composition, utilizing more tanks towards the last points. We saw that happen on Numbani against Rogue, and that effectively shut them down, allowed them to stabilize. And when you have a team that can play a dive comp equally well or even slightly worse, but can play the control comp, they're going to end up winning the overall time game. So I think that was the decisive factor with Rogue getting shut down in Korea.
Because it almost seems like a attitude or feeling in Europe that sort of, let's take NIP, sort of their triple tank composition, for example, that they struggle against this heavy dive composition. I mean, what is the difference between, I guess, a team running triple tank and then a team running tanks in a control composition? I mean, how are they using that against the aggressiveness and the chaoticness of the dive?
Well, you're going to be using it at specific spots in the map, and ideally at the last point, because the dive won't be able to approach from your back, because as the last point, you're going to have your backs against the wall.
Prevent flanking.
Right, so you're shutting down a lot of flanking options, and with that, I can't really explain it more, but it's just focusing on the tanks, surviving, and doing what they can do, doing a lot of cleave damage, and getting value from ultimates.
I think as well as the fact that, yeah, they have tanks, but it's very, very different to the way that Europeans are playing it out. There's a lot of team play that's sort of tied up in that. That's kind of a little bit difficult to maybe explain or put into words as well. The coordination of the Korean teams is definitely incredibly good. But Bren, Rogue now going to be holding here, looking to hold at the very least, and already a lot of damage. Crusade just got completely sliced.
Yeah, that one entry frag onto Crusade is going to set them up quite nicely for the follow-up defense. Cyclowns not really in a position to try and defend this whatsoever, and running a sort of composition again, actually a mirror comp towards Rogue here. They're running not Pox on the Zenyatta, as we've come to expect them throughout the games today. Actually going to be opting to go for the Ana play. Any thoughts towards this, Bishop, or?
You mostly see teams run a Zenyatta on offense, but going for the Ana, I guess they're looking for a strong soldier play here with an Analyzer, possibly.
I mean, you can facilitate, of course, those fight-breaking ultimate situations, even with a nano blade as well, from an engine. You can sort of to try and break deadlocks in that situation when you bring Ana in, but maybe she doesn't have that consistent healing that she otherwise would. But this is not bad. Davin and iuKeEe going straight on in here now. Who's on the payload is actually soon just trying to stall this one out, and he's been pretty hard to hit and kill. But the Cyclowns have taken this point, and this is going to be a little bit annoying. This will not rub Rogue up well, conceding this first point.
I'm going to be honest with you, that's actually very impressive by Cyclowns to be able to take that. Traditionally, Numbani first point is one of those points where when you have quite a large, I suppose, skill gap between teams, you have to find that you end up with a full hold on Numbani first defense. So Cyclowns really just showing them what they're made of to a certain degree, managing to take up that first checkpoint, moving into the streets phase, arguably the easiest phase in Numbani to try and push through. They've got ultimates to work with. The Nano Blade is available to them if they so wish to use it, Uber.
Now, Pulsebomb going out from soon there doesn't actually connect. Davin still has his in reserve, but his most important task right now is to deal with the opposition Tracer, the flanker, of course, that's causing so many problems now. The Krytox going straight towards the Nano Blade of Soldier. He's now going to use that tactical fire, so Krytox is left without anywhere to go.
Yeah,
the AKM, easy finish.
Difficult situation for them. Still, Rogue are fighting back. They're finding a few kills here and there, but the cart actually hasn't moved that much. Soon has been just having an absolute whale of a time in the back lines, contesting it, stopping it from moving. Destro does pick up the final kill, though, onto Soon with his Helix rockets.
So, Bishop, we have a offensive dive comp, we have a defensive dive comp.
Yes.
So let's just say you're defending with a dive composition against this mirror composition, right? Do you need to play any differently around it? Do you not want to be the first to engage? Are you, more concerned about specific targets to focus as that defending dive team?
More than target focus, it'd be just focusing on stalling, I guess. And Soon did a great example of that by just sitting on payload, even though he did die. So Rogue will most likely be losing here, but the important thing is that they put in 2 fights and essentially force Cyclones to burn a lot of their ultimates, allowing them to have a lot of time to stabilize.
So they've already drained the time bank quite drastically before we even get to this last phase, where then, as you explained as well, it's far more difficult to flank the defensive team on this last point.
Indeed.
To the wall. So this is, I guess, where Rogue would ideally want to deliver that killing blow if they could. They still have 3 minutes 55 in the bank. Cyclones could potentially finish earlier than the minutes. It's sort of unlikely. Rogue have given a lot of ground here, Brent.
Yeah, indeed. It's quite a lot of time bank built up here for Cyclowns. Soon wants to initiate, though. The Pulse Bomb's going to get committed. KnOxXx into the backlines as well. Putting in the work and putting in the damage will collect them 3 kills apiece. So Cyclowns right now forced to back off, regroup, and try and repush once they've got 6 remaining. But look at this. Rogue just not slowing down in the slightest. KnOxXx wants to lead the initiative, try and get that spawn camp going. The aggressive forward hold that we saw, I believe, it was it was doing it earlier in the game?
Well, I mean, Selfless was the first team to really start going about this one. But I mean, the most important part is that Rogue are playing forward, they're playing this dive bomb. Even if they dive far forward, they're going to have time to respawn back in, generally speaking. The pulse bomb from Davin was a little bit misplaced there. And now the Dragon Blade from Krytox to try and compound this issue, compound the fact that Rogue had NiCO picked off, but he hangs out inside the bubble instead. No dice.
He went for it. He realized, though, it was cut a little bit short. Now we're going to see the nano boost used onto Nox. He's going to be initiating into the back. Does pick up a kill onto Pox quite easily, just eviscerating him in the process. Now he's searching for even more. Is the team there? Is the dive there from Rogue? It's going to be Nox who ends up falling a little bit too far out of sight lines for his team. Post-1 also committed from the side of Soon, not quite finding the opportunities. iuKeEe is on a bit of a mad one, picked up 2 kills for himself. It's going to be Davin winning the 1v1 with Soon as well.
Extremely confidence-driven play by Krytox over there by using a naked, unsupported Genji ult right there. But it seems like they'll be able to follow through here, looking to close out this match possibly.
This is the unbelievable if actually did that.
This is going to be ridiculous.
As well. Sound barrier's on, Transcend's going to come over the payload in this fight. You can see over the top, Lukey just trying to benefit from a little bit of that healing, this safe haven that Zenyatta provides. You better believe it, Destro getting aggressive.
Oh my god.
Cyclowns gets it done. Now, we talked about a defensive dive comp being one that's kind of based around stalling, but eventually, Bishop, you kind of want to stop
that was
finishing the map.
Right.
That was nuts.
I mean, what went wrong for Rogue there? Is that if you're the coach as well and you're saying, like, yeah, it stalled them out, but then you kind of let it get away from you. Is it just they lost their nerve at the crucial moment, perhaps?
I would have liked to see NiCO on D.Va at that last point there. I think it would have given the team a lot more stability. His ult charge was also extremely low going into that last point. I believe at one point, after second point got capped, it was at 15%. That would have been an ideal situation for him to switch, but...
And that's obviously gives it a bit more of that control as well that you're talking about, especially that, you know, well, maybe a little bit, but the Korean teams obviously wanted to try and utilize against Rogue as well and try and sort of temper this straight-up aggression.
Following up on the skill difference that we talked about, Cyclowns and Rogue, I think the biggest indicator of that would be if a Genji is starting to use his Dragon Blade without support ults, and I believe NiCO used his Dragon Blade twice without the help of any of support ults.
And in your opinion, that's to his detriment. You definitely want to see a support ult used to back that up.
Oh, definitely. Genji's always going to be marked. It's going to be difficult for him to approach enemies and eliminate them. However, he's used them twice. He used Dragon Blade twice without the help of support ults, and he's connected. And they were crisp. Rogue, well above Cyclones, it seems, when they're executing this kind of dive on this map.
Oh, very confident as Cyclowns are going to be looking to get the attack underway on Numbani. They've shown a decent time. There's currently 3-all time bank. Currently suited more towards Rogue's style, but AKM going to be jumped on a little bit, forced off onto the low ground for now. Cyclowns looking for an opportunity to work their magic. Davin is going to be collecting the first kill.
2, in fact, as well. Soon was very close behind him as well. Look, it's well known in the European scene that Davin is a monster on play, but NiCO's purple and he's put to sleep as well. Completely trashed by Pox.
Wow.
And that's not good for Rogue at all. I mean, I spoke to AKM earlier on saying they're tired, but you cannot, this is not a thing. This can't be a thing.
This is nuts. And you could already tell when we were looking at the player cams, you know, Rogue, they played a lot of games today. They're quite tired. So are Cyclones. But you can see Cyclones were very, I guess, they were proud of themselves. So the job they put up against Rogue, pushing it in this far, getting a decent time bank underway. And we'll see if they can carry it on. Davin is just hovering around the high ground as it stands, falling very weak, forced to recall, but now he's behind enemy lines. Almost has the pulse bomb available to him. No ultimates across the board for E for these sides there.
Rogue should have a sense of Davin being back behind him in some form or another here as well. You can see Soon as well just trying to position up fairly close. Find a grenade connects on towards Lukey, but it's not really capitalized on destro. Got completely curb stomped then as well. Soon comes through with the melee. And it seems like there's very limited peel here as well to sort of protect the Santa. You can see now the buy grenade comes down. Davin comes back now to assist.
Indeed, indeed. A bit uncharacteristic there by Soon, just missing the pulse bomb off the mark, but he's found a kill onto Pox regardless of that. He's going to be looking for opportunities. AKM just following up. Bit of damage here and there. He's going to be finding a kill into iuKeEe. So ultimates right now, one support ult on board for Cyclones. Rogue are very close to their own sound barrier, and they're both obviously using the Ana, so they've only got the one support ult to work with. Krytox almost got fragged there as he was stepping outside of the spawn. Soon is just wreaking havoc into the back lines, and we're going to be moving into the fight in the street phase here, Uber.
Yep. Dragonblade coming up for KnOxXx. It's an easy 3. NiCO has to shut him down. He hasn't pulled his own out here, but it's important. He's nano boost, and he still has a few moments of that. See what Crusade just did then? He just prevented his entire team from getting absolutely trashed. The boot back made it impossible for NiCO to close the gap and actually get involved in that fight. That's pretty frightening stuff. Now he turns it around. Luki gets himself 2.
That is nuts. Krytox have just gone huge for his team. The Nanoblade was all it took. Absolutely decimated, slicing and dicing through the rogue opposition. 25 seconds remaining.
Dicing in reference to a oh, God. Oh, God.
Is that one pet peeve?
No, it's fine, man.
Another great play to note is that Crusade saved his sound barrier in that situation. He trusted his team, trusted Krytox to go in and connect with an Ana-boosted Nanoblade, but here comes the fight.
And the sound barrier is still there as well, most importantly. Let's see if it actually works for him. It allows Destro and Krytox to open the fight as well. If Rogue loses another checkpoint here, this would be absolutely devastating for them. They need to do something about it, but it's going to be overtime soon. It's his admirable effort that comes through, but Davin seems to be just a bit better. Nox is going to go down Crusade with a boot back on NiCO, and yep, you better believe it. It's 5 checkpoints for Cyclowns, and Rogue have slipped. They have lost their way. They need to find their way back to the light.
Davin is popping off. This man is on a mission. He's on a mission to dethrone Rogue. If they win even one map here, that's going to throw the entire groups into disarray here. NiP will need to come out on top in their day 3 group game if this happens. And Cyclones could potentially, if they follow up on this map win, take the 3rd seed away from them. And here comes the initiation from Rogue. They're moving into the back. Destro collects winz. Still the overtime ticking over. They need to make sure they don't step away from this cart. Trying to find a bit of damage. Davin just making sure not to stray too far away from the rest of his team. Nox moving into the back now. Going to be using that Primal Rage just to avoid and try and move them around the map away from the car potentially. Still Davin so close to this pulse bomb, just trying to be onto the back of soon. It's going to be NiCO moving in with the Dragonblade. He's picked up 3 kills. The overtime ticking down. Davin the last man standing. Still keeping the overtime going to the best of his ability, but really too little too late.
What is this? Rogue, to be fair, eventually hold back there as well, but bear in mind that Cyclowns had like 2 minutes and 40 seconds. That's a reasonable amount of time. You can get a lot done in that period of time. 2 checkpoints there as well. I mean, the fact that they even take the first point is just kind of mind-blowing for me there as well. And one has to wonder what's going on with Rogue. I mean, like a topic that we're sort of hitting on a lot, Bishop, is you know, are support ults required to be used to back up things like Dragon Blades and stuff like that? And it seems that, you know, we mentioned it from NiCO that he was able to sort of do without it, kind of Dragon Blade in of his own volition. But we also there as well that Crusade was able to save the sound barriers and trust that Krytox could, you know, go and get picks with the Dragon Blade himself and save it for later. I mean, what happened to Rogue there? They just didn't really seem to have too much coordination at all.
All I can say is this is probably the beauty of LAN.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely the beauty of LAN. You never know what's going to happen. And Cyclones certainly really proving themselves to be a worthy team in TakeOver too.
It's funny what happens, you know, when you sort of find yourself sitting at the bottom of the group at the end of the day. You're going up against a team that, you know, has really blazed a trail, I guess, through, you know, international Overwatch. You're like, you know what, boys, we're just going to go for it. Their coach is playing Winston. They've got a stand-in player as well on the DPS role. They've had to make all these changes, and yet Cyclowns have managed to get a very admirable showing in overtime. Rogue better be mad. They better be hungry. Otherwise, they're going to lose this map.
No. Here we are. It's going to be Rogue looking to try and at least even it out to a degree, or possibly even take the win away from Cyclowns. But can they do it? Cyclowns on the defense. All or nothing. If they take a map away from Rogue today, it would be very, very phenomenal indeed. We shall see, though. Dive attempt's not quite happening just yet. Rogue like to play this quite patiently. There we go. Crusade was waiting for it. Gets the boop onto Nox. Completely spinning things out of control for them as it stands. The positioning right now from Cyclowns is absolutely excellent. No one's taking any casualties. Going to be dropping to the low ground to a degree, trading a kill here and there, but they're going to be able to find even more. Soon's in a bit of trouble, forced to play around the corner. Uses the recall in the end, but no, the kills will be falling to the side of Rogue in the end.
I mean, it was a nice boop to start the fight off there. Crusade obviously, you know, moving Nox aside. It doesn't really hurt him in the grand scheme of things. He wants to harass up on that high ground there as well. And eventually, it was players like Soon really doing a lot of the work there. Nox did a heck of a lot of damage in that fight. You can actually see that's indicated in his current ult percentage as well. So very big contribution there. And yeah, this is, I would call this the bare minimum from Rogue. They have 2 minutes and 53 seconds left. And now it's a matter of just trying to jump on Cyclone's face, really just trying to shake him out of position here. Payload got way too far. They should be very clearly aware of that.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of ult advantage on the side of Rogue as well. They're close to Soon's Pulse Bomb, which again is easy enough to charge up, but Nox has almost got his Primal Rage as well, which can be a very powerful ability in itself. Still, Soon just prancing about. Davin wants to try and take the 1v1 with him, but he might get dived on now. The recall was committed. They're going to be calling that, but it's going to be NiCO ends up falling. Helix Rockets of Krytox pops the tactical visor, claims 2 more. This is looking unreal, and he's going to get the 4th with the help of Davin. Ridiculous stuff, and Nox ends up committing the Primal Rage.
Yeah, and what's even the most important about that as well is that Cyclowns lose 1 player. They can stand up here quite far, and then when Pox gets here, he is actually going to be having the Nano Boost available there as well. So notice that this is a D.Va composition here for Cyclowns. I mean, your thoughts on? I mean, you kind of said you wanted to see this from Rogue on their defense, Bishop. What does bringing this D.Va here add to Cyclowns, especially on this part of the map?
It would have to be nullifying Tracer's damage. That would be the biggest reason why you would want to pick a D.Va into this comp. But it looks like Rogue's going in strong here without even using a Transcendence.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like as well, I don't really think Destro was in position to actually mitigate any of Soon's damage because he was up on the high ground and Destro was elsewhere as well. So a matter of positioning. And the fact of the matter is Soon is always going to be knocking, coming around the backside as well, just trying to do as much as he possibly can now. So this is where Rogue can actually get even on checkpoint points. It's going to be a bit of a messy fight. A lot's going to be committed to this one. Soon comes forward. He's completely taken down by Krytox. It's a switch straight through him. The Transcendence comes out here for Rogue, but it might be a little bit too late. They've lost Soon. Such a key part of these fights. And then to have AKM go down following that, Krytox killing blows to both of those crucial carry players for Rogue. This has got to force them back.
This is wonderful. If they can claim some kills off the back of this, they're going to be in a very solid position. But it's going to be winz who actually picks up Krytox. Maybe strayed a little bit too far from the Mother's Nest there. Still, self-destruct available for Destro. They can store this for a little bit while longer. iuKeEe has to force his way back. Bio Grenade going to be keeping him healed up, but soon just popping up with the damage, puts in the work. uNKOE following up as well. Destro's still holding on to the self-destruct, so potentially able to stall it, but he doesn't opt to use it to refresh the mech, and he will be just falling and conceding the point.
I mean, it might make this feel that he wants to stay on that D.Va right now as well, but Rogue are close. They've got 34 seconds here, so this might even come down to an overtime situation. It may well be that one, but NiCO has the Dragon Blade though. That's quite important to see that coming through. uNKOE is not too far away from a Transcendence. Given his hit rate as well on that particular hero, we can actually generate that ultimate a little bit faster. The self-destruct here. This would be scary for Rogue. They will have to vacate the area, and if this is placed correctly, this could be absolutely devastating. It comes in, it's in the underpass, it's fine, okay, just 1 kill for now. We'll have to see what more will come of it. uNKOE gets the pick on Crusade, NiCO with the Dragon Blade, that's important. 2 kills, he finds Krytox and Pox, and now Rogue should be able to press forward a little bit more. Transcendence are used by uNKOE as well, just to ensure this one, to make sure Davin can't pick one off. Yes, they're in overtime, but the yellow square of victory is right there, and Rogue had a scare.
They did indeed.
And they managed to get it done as well. Maybe not get too hyped, maybe spread it out a bit.
I would prefer the hype.
Yeah.
The hype's always fun, yes.
So you don't think it's to the detriment of a team's sort of composure when playing, or do you think it adds to it?
On LAN, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think you can never have too much of hype.
All right. Well, that's good to know. That also explains why you maybe enjoy the atmosphere as well.
Possibly. But if the team's more calm and collected because they've been so successful, then that's another story.
Okay. No, you're exactly right. That's a decent point. Well, Rogue have moved forward towards the point to start things off, Brennan. Looks like Cyclowns are waiting for something before they want to go in.
Indeed, they're playing this dive composition quite passively for now. Going to be trading a kill. Both the Zenyatta's falling in the midst of it. Still, I'm going to be finding a few more as well. Krytox is in the back lines right now for Cyclowns, and the point has not gone to either side as it stands. iuKeEe's going to be trying to search for the kill onto NiCO. NiCO's so weak. Davin finding the kill. He finds another one onto Soon. NiCO is in the back line, still waiting, trying to pick up that large health pack, but this fight has got in the way of Cyclowns.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, Davin, is incredibly good on this trace as well. I mean, he's actually kind of well known around the European community as well, like people who play the high-low games, that they know who this guy is. He is just, look at him, more than happy to face a player like Soon as well.
On Tracer, yeah.
Considered one of the better tracers in the world even. It's an impressive performance so far, and that pulse bomb's not too far away. This next fight, it's going to have a lot of ultimates potentially committed to it.
Oh, they're going to be moving aggressively. Krytox, that is huge. Picks up a 3K into the back lines. Salvaging that for his team almost. Nox is going to be trying to bring him down with the Tesla cannon, running him down. Swift strike away. Has he saved his life? He's waiting for the heals. Nox wants his life. He's going to dive onto him. Finds it in the end. Still, Krytox has bought crucial time for his team to re-engage into this fight.
Well, this is hard to follow, but Soon is trying to stay up on this point. You can see that Rogue have actually managed to try and regain a semblance of control. They lose the first fight. The stall was actually reasonably good for Cyclowns here as well.
Yeah.
Rogue now can fight back in this and actually have a few ults to try and weather the storm here, but I mean, so much really comes down to how effective these Genjis are, or where the pulse bombs are being placed here. You can just see when these two teams are playing such a similar composition. I mean, it's kind of hard to assess there. The performance disparity unless you see how the fights break out. Here's a Dragon Blade from NiCO.
They forced out the support ultimate from Cyclowns. Going to be using it now. I believe still holding on to the sound barrier. Davin's going to be finding the kill. Destro with the tactical visor, turning this one around. Rogue had the ultimate advantage, but Cyclowns have caught them with their trousers down. Finding the picks, Crusade using that sound barrier to keep his team alive. They have used a lot of ultimates to retake this fight, but I believe it should be firmly in their grasp.
To be fair, Rogue have burnt through a lot of their ultimates as well. winz, AKM, KnOxXx, I believe uNKOE also had to use his there as well. Not ideal, but NiCO went for the Dragon Blade at this stage. So this flips back in Cyclowns' favor, where they ostensibly have, ultimates closer to their horizon. I mean, even if it's just a pulse bomb, right? The next fight had to be, I think, is Swoosh put a white fight as well. So no use of those in this particular case. 95% as well. Davin going to have to recall back out, but KnOxXx finds Cox early on. So that's a very successful dive if he's accessing the backline with such alacrity there. And with Crusade falling, Cyclowns almost both of their healers now.
Very big plays by Rogue. Managed to retake that with no ultimates really used in the slightest. Cyclone's going to be falling in the end. They do get a bit of cap time, so 68% on the map right now for Cyclones. Rogue just ticking it up, currently on 50%, but there's plenty of opportunities right now for either side to take it over one another. Now, important people to watch right now, Krytox is going to be getting his Dragon Blade out very soon. I imagine they're going to be wanting to initiate in with that, whilst Rogue do not have their own support ultimates.
This is just straight up slugfest, Brendan. There's no other way to put it. I wouldn't exactly call it a tactically nuanced game. You can see the Tracer try and kill the other Tracers and vice versa when it comes to the Genjis, but KnOxXx again, he finds the first kill of the fight. He lands on top of Krytox there as well. Squeeze a life from him. Davin's forced to back away as well. And that's
actually huge. That's actually huge for them, because now that one kill onto Krytox means Cyclers couldn't initiate in, and NiCO has now built up his own Dragon Blade, so they're getting ultimates across the board. They've even got support ultimates to boot, so uNKOE's got his Tranquility. winz is only 15% away from a sound barrier. This is looking beautiful for Rogue.
Krytox in position though. The Dragon Blade to come out here as well. He's found AKM very quickly. In fact, it looks like it's a mutual Dragon Blade. NiCO trying to outdo his opposite number on the other side of the map. He's found Crusade. Both Genjis only get their one kill, so it's a 5v5. Destro now going to turn the tactical visor on. He may have a big opportunity here, but he's landed on NiCO. The dive. What a great response from Rogue there. They found the tac visor player and then threw a Winston and a Genji at him. Burst him down immediately. Now we're in overtime. No one really from Cyclowns except Crusade to throw himself at that point. He's going to run out of puff. He's going to run out of time as well, as he is going to be forced away. And Krytox, not much can be done here to try and stall things out a little bit more. AKM with a quick double. Tac visor as well, just to secure this one out. You definitely expect to see that one here overtime. It's going to tick down, and Rogue are going to take this first round away. Someone's a Rogue fan.
Someone's happy.
And now, honestly, this is quite aggressive stuff. So obviously, hard to check in with you, Bishop, sort of during the round because of all this fighting back and forth here. But is that true? Is that a correct assessment to make, that this just seems like two teams that are really just wanting to just brawl with each other? Do you think there's anything maybe at a deeper level that's happening here, or that allowed Rogue to win that round?
I think they just want it. They want the fights. They are really initiating without even scouting each other out and just going in. I think Rogue ended up having the upper end there by eliminating targets that were out of position. Also wanted to mention how many times uNKOE was in the kill feed, not as fragging, but as an assist. And this just goes to show how good Rogue's comms are at the moment. Anything that's discorded is going to be eliminated.
Oh, speaking of Swoosh as well earlier on, and uNKOE actually pre-discords the target. So while the Winston's in midair, he'll discord the target. So by the time Winston lands, the target's only just realized he's been discorded and he's actually going to be the target, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of hard to actually have some time to respond to that at all. Rogue apparently are quite good at it. I mean, Swoosh was saying that Movistar were trying to do it themselves, but actually struggling to make it work, struggling to actually mechanically put that to practice. But you can see here as well, two crucial targets being picked off for Cyclowns. Let's keep an eye on the positioning as well for Cyclowns, and sort of how Rogue are trying to, make the most of that as well, given obviously that seems to have been what gave them the edge in that previous round. Jesus, soon.
Okay, Crusade, I should say. Cruz isn't in this game, not yet at least, but he's fine the kill. Krytox following up. NiCO is behind him. Be initiating with the Swift Strike, tries to find an opportunity. Onto Pox, does end up picking it up. Now it's just him and Crusade having a little battle, but the point is going to fall over to the side of Cyclones. They do get the recap, but Rogue are just cleaning it up essentially straight after the pat. So this contestation is going to be short-lived, and it will be going back into Rogue's favor.
Despite that, Rogue do give over a little bit of cap percent there as well. I'm surprised. They actually had the players there. You saw they purposely disengaged from the point. So obviously that gives Cyclone about 5 or 6%, sort of prevents Rogue from ticking that one up further now as well. Want to see where this Dragon Blade goes? especially when NiCO has been able to find such important targets in the past already as well. I mean, this is great. This is two teams that play identical comps here as well, and you can really see the differences. Transcendent's going to keep coming over this fight here, so NiCO's going to struggle to find a target. He's actually happy with that. He's forced the ultimate out. uNKOE's used his as well. Double pulse bomb, Davin. That's going to be pretty nasty there. It's going to be uNKOE and Nox to fall down, and there's not really much you can do to recover from that if you're Rogue.
Davin is playing out of his mind. This entire series, Numbani and now Lijang Tower, it's ridiculous. Picking up a double kill with that pulse bomb was exactly what they needed to initiate into that fight. Rogue were leading it by a storm, to be honest. They had the Tranquility popped off the tactical visor. Complete clear control of the point, but now Cyclowns, they turn it around with that one maneuver, and they've got ults to use as well. Dragon Blade on Krytox. Destro with the tactical visor, and iuKeEe's utilizing his Primal Rage into the back. He's picked up the solo kill onto uNKOE.
It's going to be quite frustrating for uNKOE there as well. I mean, first of all, he can't put orbs on anyone, even if he had a moment to do so. They were completely caught out of that fight. It's funny how often these fights as well are being resolved on an individual level. You know, you see a two-man pulse bomb come through, or like just really good target selection, or someone getting discorded just the right time, or uNKOE just wrecking Krytox Dragon Blade.
Insane. The Discord Orb was right on his cranium, brought him down in a flash. And Nox with the Primal Rage will be doing enough damage, enough clearance to eventually recapture the point for the rest of his team here. Davin in a bit of trouble, getting dived on quite significantly with the rest of his team. They do eventually back off. Rogue don't want to potentially feed into the enemy, lose a couple of players.
So you're the team that's also playing dive, right? And you're maybe the team that's not as good at dive and is not having a success against a team like Rogue. Would you be telling them sort of, we need to try something different? We need to actually counter their composition instead of countering their execution?
Oftentimes, what I've learned through coaching, I guess, with the short amount of time I've had, is that the simpler the better in most cases.
Okay.
So if you feel like a certain composition is natural to the team, you're going to want to reinforce that as much as possible.
Even if you maybe feel like you're not getting traction or having success with that composition, and maybe the opposition team we have noticed that Cyclowns haven't been making these switches. They believe in it, of course. That's quite important. Now, we're going to have a tactical visor around the corner here. Davin also just trying to make sure he can keep tabs on NiCO. Get an easy in as well towards his point. This Rogue are very close now to having this round as well.
Ticking down, 95%. Cyclones waiting until the very end of the fight. What a stick! Davin, unreal in the midst of the tranquility, I should say. AKM falling in the midst of this fight. Putting in work for the rest of his team, just trying to find the damage. It's going to be Rogue coming out on top. Now the soundbar used. Cyclones trying to prolong this fight out to the bitter end.
It's Krytox is doing a heck of a lot with that sound barrier there. The Dragon Blade was able to net him far more kills than he otherwise would have had. Only 3 players up for Rogue right now, and they've got to back away in overtime, no less. However, Cyclones blow everything they had left. They used up everything in that fight. Rogue had 3 ultimates to come back in with here as well. I mean, Cyclones can still win from this position if they win an ultless fight again, but again, Rogue, if they don't make a huge mistake, they should be able to clean this one up. It's no diva for Cyclones, so AKM's going to be a big issue. And of course, soon with the pulse bomb, you never know what's going to happen, Brent.
He's waiting for it, unleashes it in the end, but essentially just the zoning from the pulse bomb is going to find the kill for NiCO. AKM using the tactical visor just to clear them off the point. The overtime ticking down, iuKeEe pops down the bubble, tries to buy a bit of time for him. Davin's also just waiting for the entry. He's got a pulse bomb on him, but he's at about half HP. Unleashes it, picks up the kill onto Nox. This could be turning it around. iuKeEe's still putting in work, but he's so weak. Will end up falling, but has he bought enough time for the team? The overtime ticking down. Davin's still there in the fight, but NiCO with the swift strike will put an end to it once again.
Yeah, I mean, Stall's going to be a tough one here. You can see Crusade is put down. Pox won't even get to the point, and that is going to be the second round. That was really weird, though. That last fight, Rogue retook the point, and I couldn't tell from the wireframe whether Cyclone had actually disengaged that fight and actually said, okay, we'll let you have the point. We know overtime's not going to tick down by the time we get back. And then we saw like a Lukey jump in there on the Winston. Yeah. I can't tell if it was that, or if they were just in complete disarray and they were almost not able to get to the point, because they were standing on the point.
Yeah.
They moved off it.
It's absolutely tough for them.
Well, ideally, against when you're facing a dive, you don't want to be all clumped up in the point. So I guess that's why Cyclones was kind of spread out. But then Rogue just picking off people out of position.
And I guess as well, when they had their tack visor come in as well, there's probably not much incentive for Cyclones to go, oh, well, we should probably get back to the point if they wanted to wait it out. That's, you're playing with fire. There's very slim margins that you operate on, especially given that the overtime was ticking down by the time Lukey touched the point. So NiCO's on the DV here, and so is Destro. Now, are they expecting a Pharah? I mean, is there any reason why you see both these teams? Do all of a sudden go towards the DV here, Bishop?
Pharah is definitely a big factor into choosing D.Va on Garden, particularly because Pharah has an exceptionally high pick rate. However, D.Va also great on this map because you can turtle on point with Matrix and usually cover and peel for 2 or more people at the same time.
Quite close quarters on this section of Lijang Tower.
Indeed. Night Market probably a bit too wide for D.Va to get a lot of value.
Too many apertures for you to try and cover, I guess, with that.
Indeed.
It's one benefit, actually. I was speaking to a couple of teams about this. I'm not too sure who it was, but pushing through this this wide area here, I think it was Reinforced saying it earlier. It's an absolute beautiful push attempt when you've got the defense matrix. You can cover the entire wide area of that entire push attempt. So you can just basically get free ground onto the point. iuKeEe now moves into the back line. He gets destroyed instantly. uNKOE, the Discord orb was on him before he even knew what happened.
Yeah, it looks like Superman is a slight mechanical error there as well. He got caught up in the corner of the building. He actually wanted to dash right into the back line of Cyclowns, but it was actually forced to back away. Now into that peel roll, which is fine. Davin was discorded as well. uNKOE was not having it. It was like soon. Well, actually, what uNKOE normally says when he needs help is team for like five minutes until someone responds. But especially back in the old Rogue when they had to communicate in English. This is not his preferred language. But here, perhaps it's a little bit simpler. Some ultimates coming on both sides of these things, but I mean, Cyclowns need to make a decisive push now. They need to really create an opportunity here with this sound barrier, with this pulse one, with this transcendence in this next fight.
Good ults to use, going to be dropping the beat. Cyclones going to be trying to initiate him, but it's answered back immediately. Is that a pulse bomb connecting? Not quite. Davin goes for it. It's a cheeky little attempt. They're still going to be trying to bring down KnOxXx. Tranquility now used by Cyclones, trying to keep them alive, but iuKeEe ended up dying into essentially the start of that fight, so it's already a 5v6. Krytox, however, trying to even it up. Does bring down uNKOE, popping off the Dragon Blade. Swift Strike brings down AKM, collects another one onto winz. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, that's a huge extension. That's a big effort coming out there from Krytox. That's not really a contribution that you can ignore here as well. And as a result, just as a result of that extra kill, pretty much, Rogue just give up the point. There's no way. But yet again, they're at 86%, even more. This stall is now what they could have been doing the stall from the start of the fight, actually. They could have just trickled people in instead of going 6v6, but they want to brawl. That's fine. Destro has a self-destruct here available. 94. This is still being stalled. This is nuts. It's still in Rogue's favor.
Ridiculous. And they're still stalling it. winz. That's crucial, getting the overtime 99% on that point in the tail end of it. Cyclones only just recapping it, and they've got a hell of a way to go if they want to try and reverse sweep this.
And Rogue didn't use ults while they were stalling at all. I mean, why would you?
Yeah.
Unless you really wanted to try and push it to 99%. But once they hit overtime, there was no point in any further stall. It doesn't get any better for you.
It's definitely going to be a huge uphill battle for Cyclones with the ult economy that they have right now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Rogue actually went in with a dry fight, not committing to any ultimates and just kind of charging their ultimates, but it looks like they're going to go in for a clip.
Yeah, I mean, they could afford to at this stage, I guess. I guess maybe they're confident they can finish it here. Otherwise, they probably have a few minutes at least to sort of allow that percentage for Cyclowns to tick up, but they don't need to worry about it. 3 men are up right now for Cyclowns. Make that 2. Davin is cut down. Rogue stand on the point. They'll be flipping it back in just a moment here. But the problem is Cyclowns don't have the people, the personnel here to start their own stall. They can't stall this back in their own favor. They lost the fight too handily, and still they're going to try and get at least on towards this overtime. The odds of them flipping it back in their favor are so low. Now it's going to tick down. Now it's done, and Rogue will have the second map in this 4-map series. Ultimately, it looked pretty comfortable for them on Lijang Tower.
Comfortable, but not a